you ever felt like you weren't alone in your own house? I did. And the feeling only got worse when I started hearing noises from a part of the house that wasn't supposed to be a room at all. My room was up on its own floor, more of an attic space than a proper bedroom. It had a massive closet door that was always a bit scary. It was high up, so you had to climb wooden stairs to get to it, and it was packed with all my childhood toys. Being just a kid, maybe 7, I always felt completely isolated up there. Then one night, after watching a scary movie, I was lying in bed, trying not to think about it. And that's when I heard it. A toy fell over with a loud thud from inside the closet. I froze. A moment later, I jumped out of bed, raced to my parents' room, and told them everything. They told me it was nothing, but seeing how terrified I was, they let me sleep in their room that night. The next evening, I had almost forgotten about it. But then I heard it again. This time, it was the unmistakable sound of a container of Legos spilling out everywhere up in the closet. The sound seemed to go on forever, a rattling, clattering cascade. Again, I sprinted to my parents' room. My dad was getting impatient. He reluctantly let me stay with them, but he was annoyed. The following day, my mom and I went to check the closet, and there it was, a pile of Legos on the floor, scattered out of the container. I knew someone had been in there, but my mom just insisted it had fallen over. That night, my dad locked their door. He said he was tired of my nonsense. I lay there, completely silent, my heart pounding, my mind running wild. An hour passed, and then it happened. The sound of the closet door rolling open, slowly, with an awful scraping sound, filled the silence. Moonlight from my window shone on the figure standing by the open door. A wave of pure, absolute terror swept over me. A feeling so strong I can still remember it today. I let out the most horrific, ear-piercing scream you've ever heard. The figure leapt down, ran out of my room, and out the front door of my house. My mom rushed to my room as my dad ran downstairs, trying to catch them, but he never did. The police never caught the man. It was close to Halloween, and my friends and I were swapping spooky stories. My friend said she had a story about her parents' first date. She said she didn't like telling it because it was a true story, but we kept urging her to. To get to the point, her parents had a pleasant, if a bit awkward, first date. When it was time to say goodnight, the guy, my friend's dad, suggested they go for a late-night hike up Provo Canyon. He was familiar with the area from doing a lot of rock climbing there. So they drove to the entrance of the canyon, got out of the car, and began hiking with only the stars for light, since it was a new moon. At some point, the guy started feeling uneasy because the path ahead, which went under some trees, was completely dark, and it was getting very late. He ignored the feeling and kept going. A minute later, the feeling came back. He ignored it again and started walking a bit under the trees when his foot hit something soft in the middle of the trail. It was too dark to see what the soft thing was, and the uneasy feeling came back even stronger. Instead of trying to figure out what he had bumped into, he and the woman both decided to get out of there as fast as they could. Years later, after they had been married for a while, they were watching a TV interview with the serial killer, Ted Bundy. When asked to describe a time he felt the closest to being caught, he talked about the night he lured a girl into Provo Canyon and had just killed her when he heard people coming up the trail. He explained how he hid in the trees just in time to watch some guy walk right into the body, and for some reason just turn around and leave. When I was in 8th grade, I went on a school trip they called the Louisiana Tour. We traveled to a bunch of famous places across South Louisiana. One of our stops was Myrtle's Plantation, known as one of the most haunted places in the entire country. There are countless stories about it. But at one point, our large group was standing in a room, and the tour guide was talking about something, though I can't remember what. As I stood there, I began to hear what sounded like a single piano key being struck. After hearing it a couple of times, I started looking around for where the sound was coming from. I couldn't see a piano, but the sound continued, so I asked my friends who were close by if they heard it. They said no. When I heard it again, I said, "There it is." They must have heard it, but they thought I was crazy, so I just went back to looking around the room. Everyone was focused on the tour guide, except for one woman. She made eye contact with me, pointed at me, then pointed at her ear with a questioning look. I knew she was asking if I heard it too, and I nodded. Just then, the tour guide started telling a story about a soldier who had died there and who was a piano player, and how many guests had reported hearing him playing at night. I honestly had no idea what to think. I guess I still don't. I spoke with the woman as we were all leaving the room, and she confirmed she heard the exact same thing as me, but her husband and son had not heard it.